Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paradyme Podcast. We're so happy that you're here. Before we jump into today's content, a little bit of an update. This is going to be our last coverage of Beyond Good and Evil. We are actually finishing this book after 13 months since we started this book. So we are going to be covering aphorisms 292 through 296. And before we jump into that content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below. We'd love to engage with you. Let us know what your favorite aphorism was. And follow us on our social media platforms. All the information you need will be down in the description box below. So we'll go ahead and jump in with aphorism 292, and I'll start. A philosopher. That is a man who constantly experiences, sees, hears, suspects, hopes, and dreams extraordinary things. Who is struck by his own thoughts as if they came from the outside, from above and below, as a species of events and lightning flashes peculiar to him. Who is perhaps himself a storm pregnant with new lightnings, a portentous man, around whom there is always rumbling and mumbling and gaping and something uncanny going on. A philosopher, alas, a being who often runs away from himself, is often afraid of himself, but whose curiosity always makes him come to himself again.
Okay. I like the lightning example. Okay, good off. All right, I like how he compares thoughts. Like the philosopher has these profound thoughts that strike him like lightning, and they're quick, super powerful. And lightning can be really scary. You almost get, it can kill you. And having that metaphor as a thought that maybe challenges the philosopher's way of thinking and flips everything on its head, or it's something profound. I thought that was really interesting.
The imagery and the way he writes it.
Yeah, because it's his own lightning. It's his own thoughts from his perspective. And
But maybe not though, because let's back it up. Because just the start of it, he goes, a philosopher, that is a man who constantly experiences, sees, hears, suspects, hopes, and dreams extraordinary things, who is struck by his own thoughts as if they came from the outside, from above and below. Like when I read that, I think of one. It reminds me of him being enthusiastic. Like a philosopher is someone who's enthusiastic about every day. And it's every day, wow. Sometimes there was this beautiful spider in her web outside of my door outside for months. And I looked forward, every time I would see her web, I was in awe of how beautiful it was. Right. And and then the latter of the part when he's talking about sometimes your thoughts feel like they're struck from the outside. It's from above or below. And that could mean a metaphor for good or bad. But I don't know about you guys, but have you ever had a thought so good you're for me, oh my gosh, thank you, Lord. That shit was crazy. No way I could have that thought. It was too good for me to have. So I thought I was just a Wi-Fi receptor for a good thought that came from a higher thing, But then the above and below is I think some people are Wi-Fi receptors for maybe bad signals too, demonic type shit,
Right.
So that's what it gets me thinking of. And then the lightning flashes, he talks about how it's pregnant with new lightnings, sometimes a good idea is so contagious, it starts seeds of other storms, so that's what it gets me thinking about, yeah. And lightning, what is that? It's a magnetic pull between opposite things, And it's when opposite things finally come to a climax and clash and makes you jump to the other thing. That could be a metaphor in itself,
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think of, so did you guys watch the Scott Storch episode of the PvD podcast? No. Okay. So Scott Storch is a producer for music. And, he was sitting there having an interview with PvD, and PvD was like, how do you come up with these ideas? How are you coming up with these ideas? What's your creative process? And he goes, honestly, I'm just a satellite, is what he said, rather than a Wi-Fi receptor. He goes, I'm just a satellite. I don't know what's going on out there, but when an idea comes to me, I just go with it. And so this is the guy that created the beat for Still Dre, Candy Shop by 50 Cent, fucking Lean Back by Fat Joe. So he would just sit at the piano and get hit with an idea and just start playing it on the keys. And then it made like all these massive songs. Give Me That by Chris Brown. So the same idea of like these ideas are external to the philosopher. They're not their own. They're just satellites, and they ended up picking up that idea or that.
And like the word philosopher, like when I think he's saying this, like I don't think of it as like, well, this is my opinion of like someone like Plato or something. It's just like anybody that is like actively thinking in their day to day. So like an MP, like today we call them like NPCs. Like they don't walk outside and see the beauty of like the spider web or like the joy of getting to shovel the snow because it snowed. You know, they're worried about like what did fucking whoopsies. You know, what did Instagram and fucking TikTok tell them to worry about this morning? You know, like who did Taylor Swift fucking say something to? Like that's just being for real.
Yeah.
You know? So like a philosopher's like they wake up and like they're thinking, they're moving, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And he kind of continues here. He says,
the rumblings and mumblings, metaphor for thunder, but also it's like sometimes if you're actually thinking, people are going to be taken back from it because it's so opposite than what like they're doing, you know? And like that's a whole thing. And like that's just what you deal with if you're someone who's actively thinking, you know?
I mean, it's not just other people too. He's talking about the philosopher themselves, right? He says, says a philosopher, a being who often runs away from himself and is often afraid of himself. So you might have these ideas that are scary, or you might have these experiences that are scary. So you flee from yourself. But he goes on and he says, but whose curiosity always makes him come back, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's say you're suspicious of a thing. It could be anything, right? But maybe you're worried that like the answer would cause you harm in a way or something. So you're like, I don't even want to go down that fucking hole. It's fine. Like you want to go back to being blissfully ignorant or naive. The blue pill. But the thing is, eventually, because like you are a philosopher, you are thinking, curiosity always ends up making you look at the truth for real. And like that is the thing where you're like, at the end of the day, like you open the door and like it may hurt, it may not hurt, but you're just too curious to like not find out. And that to me is like what makes us human in a lot of ways, I guess.
Yeah, you crack the door, it's like this.
It's like, dude, I had to see it. I had to see it. I had to see it.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I confirmed that. We covered that pretty well. Have you guys?
I got this one.
Okay, but before we jump, have you guys ever experienced any ideas that like arrived, like you were a satellite or a Wi-Fi receptor? Can you guys think of any moments like that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like just recently, like when I had the idea to apply to be the adjunct position, you know, like the idea popped in my head and like it was like really quickly like sped forward. I saw the whole idea of like bang bang, and I was like, you know what, dude? I literally thank the Lord right then and there. I was like, that was a really good idea. Thank you. Maybe that's what I've been looking for. Because like I actively pray for wisdom on what to do, blah blah blah. And one of the things I say is like I'm gonna try to keep my eyes and ears open. I want to try to like fucking like, you know. So I think because like I'm trying to aim at that, maybe I take things like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm talking about. You know, hey, Scott.
Yeah. Recently, I felt like a satellite in that situation or this situation, or just like aware when Floyd in the office was looking at Instagram and people were commenting and saying like weird, wacky things, or even just kind of like low key hating on my guy Market. And their whole thing is they've been trying to push more content out. And so with the more haters, right, the comments, he was like, look what this person said. Like, that's crazy, huh? And I was like, yeah, you should screenshot that and use it as content. Like put it out there. And he's like, oh yeah, that'd be sick, right? And then he did that, and then it did really well, and he sparked the whole uh almost like a tool, another toolbox for using what people say in order to make more like content. And I was just like, the fact that we're talking about it, other people will probably think it's interesting too. So just screenshot it and use it, like put it in people's faces. So it was pretty cool.
Nice, dude. Yeah, it's like almost like a Spidey sense, like the animated version with the fucking electric bolt goes through his head. Freaking,
It does take, I think, like John said, just being, um, I don't know, just like aware, like you're kind of, instead of like doom scrolling, you're scrolling for some sort of enlightenment or something. You're like, oh, I'm like seeing everything for what it is.
And
got the
guilty.
satellite dish moving at the phone or the satellite dish.
I'm James Friend too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Sounds good. Let's go to 293.
All right. 293. I think this is it. A man who says, I like that. I take it for my own, and I mean to guard and protect it from everyone. A man who can conduct a case, carry out a resolution, remain true to an opinion, keep hold of a woman, punish and overthrow insolence. A man who has indignation in his sword, and to whom the weak, the suffering, the oppressed, and even the animals willingly submit and naturally belong. In short, a man who is a master by nature. When such a man has sympathy, well, that sympathy has value. But of what account is that sympathy of those who suffer, or of those even who preach sympathy? There is nowadays, throughout almost the whole of Europe, a sickly irritability and sensitiveness towards pain, and also a repulsive, irrestrainableness in complaining and effeminizing, which, with the aid of religion and philosophical nonsense, seeks to deck itself out as something superior. There is a regular cult of suffering, the unmanliness of that which is called sympathy by such groups of visionaries is always, I believe, the first thing that strikes the eye. One must resolutely and radically taboo this latest form of bad taste. And finally, I wish people to put the good amulet, gay saber, gay science in ordinary language on heart and neck as protection against it. He goes, to my fellow man, take this with you. You'll need it. And it just says gay science. He was so ahead of his time. Like, if you were wearing that, they're like, ally. You're an ally. You're good. You're cleared. He was so ahead of his time. It's literally a spell to protect you. All right. Maybe we can cut that. That was fun.
We're keeping that one.
Okay, well, this first part. Sorry.
All right. No, go ahead. You're on fire, dude.
Okay, this first part, I love how he opens it up. I mean, I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or not, by the way. Okay, but truly, I feel like, isn't that all what we want, though? It's like a man who says, I like that, and I take it for my own, and I mean to guard it and protect it from everyone. A man who can conduct a case, carry out a resolution, remain true to an opinion, and keep hold of a woman, punish and overthrow insolence. Like that right there, like, isn't that all what we want? Like, when I read that, like, that's literally what I'm going for. Yeah.
A man. They're by nature.
The thing closest to me right now is like obviously all the team, and so like I'm getting to build like really strong relationships with, like, the company and like the culture that's intertwined here. But the big thing that, like, our leadership, the people above us, the people like closest to Alex, like everybody cherishes this, and the whole team operates this way, is like taking ownership of something is by far like the greatest way to prove yourself to not only like your like people you're working close to, but it also shows that you're trying to take accountability when something goes wrong. Somebody has like not just a finger to point, but we have someone to look to be like, hey, you said you were in charge of this. What's going on here? Like this accountability. Me personally, I've never worked in a culture or like a company that like operates this way, where like everybody's looking to have some accountability for something. Like, I want to be blamed if it goes right, and I also want to be blamed if it goes wrong. And I think that when I listened, when I read this, I was like, dude, it feels like it's hitting home right now, because he's like a man that can carry not only like his stuff, but also is looking for people to depend on him to carry other things as well. It just like kind of resonate with what's currently in my life in the immediate term. So, oh yeah.
Okay. Also, when he goes in, he's like, animals willingly submit and naturally belong. He ends it by master by nature, and then he goes, that man's sympathy, well, that has value, but that before that, talks about the animal willingly submit. Like, I think that's a common trope where, like, in One Piece they use it, like, all the like the big scary monster, or whatever, they all end up loving Luffy, because he's a master by nature, right? And like I feel like we all want that too. I feel like a growing up memory is like going over to like your girlfriend in high school and like going over to her parents and meeting the family dog, and if the family dog likes you, it's a good sign. You know what I'm saying, type shit. Yeah. And it's like we've known this since the dawn of time. It's like, wow, animals love him. Like, why is that? It's like because he's got good energy, and like, why does he have good energy? Is because all the things like you mentioned in the front hand is like, that's what he's doing, you know?
Yeah. 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 He says, big idea being with the sympathy is that it only has value when it comes from strength. The mastery and surplus of power, sympathy only really counts when it comes from strength. And he talks about here, I highlighted this sentence. He goes, there is nowadays throughout almost the whole of Europe a sick irritability and sensitiveness towards pain, and also a repulsive irrestrainableness, complaining, and effeminizing, which, with the aid of religion and philosophical nonsense, seeks to deck itself out as something superior. And I think this is something we're seeing today. Like a lot of decisions and public policy is being proposed based on sympathy and compassion rather than merit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily coming from strength, right? So it's not that it has value in this case, right? With Nietzsche's lens, it's not that it has value, right? It's suffering for suffering's sake. And what he's saying is that it's effeminizing people. It's effeminizing. It's creating this repulsive irrestrainableness, this sickly irritability and sensitiveness. Like people want to avoid pain at all costs, suffering. And so they offer everybody their sympathy. But if you're not coming from a place of strength, if you're not coming from a place of mastery or a surplus of power, it's meaningless to Nietzsche in this way.
And even then, I think he's being sarcastic, by the way. Like, I think like he's saying like, okay, if sympathy does have any value at all, if it's ever appropriate, it's only ever appropriate from like someone who has strength.
Right.
But even then, like the way like lines, because in that
You're breaking up. Give it like a second. You're like glitched out. All right. Try again.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Help on it. The word that is italicized. So like I feel like he's saying that sympathy has value. I feel like he's being like sarcastic.
Yeah. The italics is sarcasm.
I think it could be. Because even then, like I feel like, I mean, I think we've had this conversation a lot, but I mean, in my own like facility in my life, very rarely do I find true sympathy for other people, you know? Because like any sort of like victim thing, like just doesn't make sense to me. Like I can have empathy where I can like play a simulation in my head maybe of like kind of understand where they're coming from, you know? And then like I would try to like, okay, organize myself from there, but still I wouldn't like out of respect for my fellow person, I would not try to show them sympathy, you know? Like I think we brought this up another time, but like I remember one time this guy came into our jiu-jitsu class, he was like literally in a wheelchair, you know? And like I ended up having the roll with him, and it's like I literally have to spar with the guy whose like legs don't work, you know? It's like I could have said,
let me take it easy.
I could have done a lot of things. You know, I could have done a lot of things. I could have said no, you know, like but like fuck it, dude. Like I play the game and like at the end of the day, there's a winner and loser, really kind of low key, not, I guess not in practice, but still, like
Yeah.
I took it easier, but still like I had to be like, well, like I can't do nothing because that'd be disrespectful to the guy.
Right.
So it's like, I guess I kind of like, I throttled enough that I thought was, appropriate for that person. Right. But I was trying to do that. I was trying to do it appropriate enough that he felt like I wasn't showing him sympathy is what I'm getting at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you?
So I feel like anytime I show someone sympathy, I feel like it's low key me being like, I feel sorry for you. So anytime I get sympathy, it's like, don't you think that like your shit's all good compared to mine? Like right now, it's just a rough patch, boy. But I don't need sympathy. I don't need sympathy. Like that thing's like, to me, I think it almost like you're thinking better than me. And like, I think that's kind of what he's getting at. Like typically, like someone who's like pure or whatever, they're never trying to be like, I feel bad for you. They're like, oh, it's like, brother, I've been there. That's the empathy, right? It's not the sympathy.
Okay, so is Nietzsche saying that sympathy, though, let's say on the other side, not the sympathy from the strong, right? Like the shared suffering sympathy.
Yeah.
Is that one also valuable, or is he saying that the other one is just more valuable?
Totally bad. That one's totally confirmed bad, and all it does is lead to like effeminizing men, weak men, and then it's a whole cycle like weak men make hard times, blah blah blah. And like why is because like they would rather try to protect. Their sympathy is so great that they'll fuck everything else up to protect something for like the most minute thing.
Right.
Like there's lizards in these trees. It's like, so we'd rather you die than have more water because there's lizards in these trees. That's what that'll get you.
Yeah. I mean, he says here, he goes, one must resolutely and radically taboo this latest form of bad taste. So he's saying it's bad. Like it's as valuable as a tulip as money,
Go ahead, John.
Okay, like another great example, I feel like, okay, the taboo thing is like, right now, a common thing to talk about is like DEI. Does it work? Does it not work? Okay. And like, it's almost taboo to criticize it. Okay.
Right.
Because the people that are trying to enforce it have so much sympathy for people of color that they have to have a program that elevates them artificially. And they don't care about the actual truth of the data, whether it helps or it doesn't, whether it's like statistically accurate, blah, 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 blah. But it's just taboo in general to even question it, because the principle of the DEI isn't does it work or does it not, is that they're showing their commitment towards sympathy of people of color.
Right. Right.
And so he's saying like it should be taboo to fucking put yourself in a corner where like you're not allowed to have real thoughts, that you have stagnated thoughts because of sympathy. Like sometimes real thoughts is going to make people look better and look worse,
Right.
And you're not allowed to have those thoughts if you're only north part of the sympathy code. You'd be true to it as like your like compass.
Yeah, it's the opposite. We've like as a culture, we've tabooed the opposite of what Nietzsche's saying here. Like to be a good philosopher, to ask questions, right? Like asking questions about things that are taboo in society, and the fact that people cannot question DEI or cannot question certain ideas that are their foundation is sympathy. It's the opposite of it. It's the opposite of what Nietzsche is bringing up here. We should be tabooing the idea of sympathy. Well, like, when I was younger, I remember observing my family raising Mariana, my sister, and like if she fell off her bike, the women were quick to be like, oh, like get in there and do sympathy things, and my dad was like, yeah, quit that shit, like off the bike. Let's figure out why it happened. Let's correct and move forward with and learn, like rather than sympathy, it's a learning lesson, right?
What was the, remind me of the question that you asked, David?
Is there value in the lower, let's call it like sympathy, the one that doesn't come from strength, the shared suffering.
You were asking, and Nietzsche said this, the thing says value.
Yeah. What do you think, David? I don't know. That's like I do see a sense of value in shared suffering, to let the other person know, like, I'm suffering with you. There's value in that, in order to overcome a problem. But I guess it just depends on what the problem is, because there's times where it's like, you're like, I would not sympathize with this person because let's say that the issue is like beating a dead horse. It's like, all right, you need to get back up, and I'm not going to have any sympathy for you. But there are times where you do have sympathy with someone because it's
Sympathizing doesn't mean that like you're in this together.
That's empathy.
Correct. Exactly.
Right. It's like, something happens during the week and you go tell your friend or your girl or whatever. They have no idea what the experience is like, so they can't share, they can't do empathy.
So it's like two people, let's say it's like the shared sympathy he's saying is like bad, is you're doing bad. Oh, I'm doing bad too. Like,
Oh,
no. Or
What value does that have, though?
it would be like, I feel so bad that you feel so bad. So sympathy is like highlighting your pain and like feeling bad for your situation.
Pity.
It's low key pity.
Yeah, it's like
It's not being like me too. That's different.
yeah, you don't have real
Like that would be like
first.
sometimes people like always try to relate to things and it's like force empathy or whatever. Like you don't have to do that. But like when people try to do that, they're trying to be like, hey, I've also been in a low spot. That's empathy, because they're trying to relate like apples to apples, apples to orange. Right. Sympathy is being like, like, you see someone who's cold outside. Okay. You have a jacket on. You have two jackets on. Let's say that. Okay. But even just one, how about that? Someone's cold and they go, I'm so cold. I'm going to freeze. And you go, I feel so sorry that you're cold. And then you just stand there with your jacket on and you never offer them to give you a jacket. But you go, I feel so sorry for you. It is so cold outside. I feel so bad for you. It's so cold. But like some empathy would be like thinking like, I know what it feels like to be really cold. How about this? Like, I'll give you my undershirt and that way we can split this or whatever. Or the empathy part is that the empathy was something. Empathy would be this. Hey, like that does suck. Next time you should think appropriately, because then there's some feedback to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, sympathy. There's no correction into it. It's just like I'm affirming your bad thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's what why Nietzsche is emphasizing the negativity of like the negative aspect of sympathy is because so many people lean into it. Let's use the modern era of how we're saying this. Like people are using it as like a virtue. Like if something feel bad for you, I look at like obviously you're probably not consciously or maybe subconsciously thinking this, like but realistically from the outside looking in, it can make you look like a better person. But really, like you're casting pity on other people when you should be like critiquing and criticizing and giving structure like, hey, we could fix this maybe, like instead of doing that, instead of leaving. But so some of you will now and that, like there's so many aspects to like giving people feedback. As soon as you start to offer someone like advice or like, how do you know my situation? I fucking don't. I just think this could help. Like if you want to hear it, fine. If you don't, that's okay too, but I'm not against you. So hopefully you don't. And I think in general, when people do hear feedback or do hear some sort of critique, I think if you're, I don't know, there's a thing that goes around here in the acquisition that people do see like people that get hired in media to be like weak, can't take great feedback. And so the way and how I learned this was because when they hire people, every question that's asked from each interview process is, how do you deal with feedback? That was asked at every step of the interview process. And I'm like, I get why that question was asked and why that comes up, because I worked with a lot of media people that like, if you give them any sort of criticism or feedback, like it's almost like you're personally attacking them.
Right.
Communication style. Like
You
leading.
Yeah.
Give me a second. All right, let me see. Is this any better?
Yeah.
All right. I think a lot of that is like communication styles. And like so I feel like there's an art to like give critical feedback. Like you can prime it in a way where they're more receptive to taking it. And I feel like a lot of people they want to just get feedback because like one, they want to show you that they're smart. And so like in my experience, like I'm always like if I want one, sometimes like you get the urge to give feedback. I always go, do you want my 2 cents on this? And like they can say no, then like no issue. But then if they say yes, then like they have now opened the door themselves to being able to receive feedback, and then just that little 2 second thing puts them in a spot to like even if it's maybe like if that conversation could have gone totally different, like now they're like okay what you know, and then they go okay you know, and so I feel like that's like sometimes it's just communication styles.
100%. Like the mission value, at least one of the mission values here, ACQ is this sincere candor. So your feedback should never come from a personal standpoint. It should always come from a place of, if you're going to offer feedback, give a solution to that and understand the other person's perspective of why they took that position, of why they created it that way. Like it should never feel as if like you have nothing to offer, like you have no reasoning why you're picking this apart. Like there should always be a constructive
Yeah.
prompt communication.
Yeah. Okay. Want to go to the next one?
Yeah, sure. Let's do 294. Who's got it?
I like this one a lot too. 293 was one of my faves, but I like this one a lot too.
The Olympian Vice. Despite the philosopher who, as a genuine Englishman, tried to bring laughter into bad repute in all thinking minds, laughing is a bad infirmity of human nature, which every thinking mind will strive to overcome. Pause. I would even allow myself to rank philosophers according to the quality of their laughing, up to those who are capable of golden laughter. And supposing that gods also philosophize, which I am strongly inclined to believe, owing to many reasons, I have no doubt that they also know how to laugh thereby in an overman-like and new fashion, and at the expense of all serious things. Gods are fond of ridicule. It seems that they cannot refrain from laughter, even in holy matters.
Okay. Can I take a shot at this one? I like this. Okay, well, one that's resonated a lot with me, it reminded me of like all the way back to when we made like our principles when we like first started this thing, you know? And one of the things I wrote down was like, don't ever forget to laugh, bro. You know?
Yeah.
And like it was like it reaffirmed, it was like there's being able to like share a laugh with your fellow man there's something magical about that. Like we talked about like that's one of the few things that are original sometimes, right? Is like making a joke out of thin air and everyone's like, that was so funny. It's like sometimes like that's that golden laughter when like your belly hurts, you know? It's like those are some of my best memories of growing up. And and then he talks about how like he's like, I bet even God finds things funny. And I go 100%. Like Elon Musk does this thing. He goes, oftentimes like the most interesting outcome like is like the most likely. It's like, and it seems like that is the case because like, I mean, if you're a Christian, which I am, we're all vessels of the Holy Spirit. So that means like, I mean, when I'm thinking and laughing and like having a funny time, I'm like resonating with him. Like he's also having a fun time. You know, like he's experiencing it through us, you know? So like, I bet you like, he's like, of course he sees like the humor and like, of course he does, you know? And I think if you can't, if you're like a doomer, if you're taking the black pill, then you've lost the thread, as they said, you know? Because like earlier he says like life should be lived with enthusiasm as like your lens through life. And like, if you're living an enthusiastic life, it's way easier to laugh at all like the funny things too, you know? One of my favorite things to do is like laugh with my students. You laugh with y'all, try to make a joke, you know?
Right.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes they'll get you in trouble too, but sometimes you can't help it.
Right.
It's almost worth it.
And sometimes it's almost worth it. Exactly.
Yeah. So, like, what he's explaining here is that philosophers in the past tried to make laughter a bad thing, right? He says laughing is a bad infirmity of human nature, which every thinking mind will strive to overcome. That's Hobbes, and he's flipping the script and he's saying that laughter is a sign of philosophical greatness, right? That it's the highest thinkers, they laugh freely, especially at things that humans treat as sacred. And like comedians, right? They'll go and they'll pick things that people hold as sacred. I mean, how many school shooting jokes are there out there? Like how many, freaking president assassination jokes are there out there? How many president jokes are out there? Like people that these as sacred, they use them as laughing posts,
And the thing is, though, if you bring that up, there's an art form to it because, like, one, not all of those will hit, but they're taking a stab at it because what they're trying to do is find that one spot that's like is past the line, but still really funny. Right. So that actually means it's in the line still, right? Right. And so like they're always like kind of like maybe like a comedian, a professional comedian is maybe like on like the frontier trying to find out like what's socially like, you know what I'm saying? You can make fun of, like, for example.
I mean, Shane Gillis' most recent, like, comedy specials. I think it's his last one, but he talks about President Trump getting assassinated and how funny it would be.
Right? Yeah. Daniel Tosh was really good at that. He was.
Tosh, yeah, for sure. I mean, a bunch of spirits.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any beliefs in your life that are forbidden to laugh at?
Just one other thing before we move on from that. You talked about how, like, he's saying how philosophers in the past, some of them thought like laughter was a thing to overcome. And he's like, actually the highest level is like, okay, who do you think seems like they got more of a handle on life? Like someone who looks at the whole thing and is like, Zen, or someone who looks at the whole life and like they're giggly about it. They're like, the sun's up, my dudes. Let's fucking go shred. Like that guy, like he still looks at all the crazy shit in the world and can still have fun with it. That's the dude who's like the master by nature,
Right.
And because he chose to be. I feel like that's what he's talking about too. Like a philosopher is just someone who's thinking. Like you can choose what do you want to do.
Yeah, and then people that don't laugh are the worst to hang out with, right?
I mean,
yeah, be a scientist. Be a scientist all you want, but at least okay. The thing about science, right, is that you have to appeal to an audience. You could be the smartest person in the world, but why do I care? Make me care, right? Like your science needs to be pervasive through culture. So you need to be able to appeal to people that are in the culture. Know your audience. If you're not willing or unable to make it humorous in any way, then that's one of your greatest appeals to every single human being. If you can get a person to laugh, you can make a friend immediately.
I agree with that.
So it's like the person that's like, oh, we have to overcome laughing. Good luck, like trying to get your message out.
There's the people who end up bonding with the quickest. Yeah, we can laugh quick.
Right. So,
okay. Next one.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, did you guys have any real quick? Have any beliefs that are forbidden to laugh at personally that you could think of? Maybe not get that out online, but.
Forbidden to laugh about.
I mean, if you would laugh in my face about my belief in the Lord, then like you've opened the door for me to make you a laughing pole to everyone else for your beliefs. So that's the only thing where like sometimes I've talked about this before, but like whenever someone, okay, do you guys remember Rob, Jeremy's friend? Mm-hmm. We can bleep the name or whatever, but he loved teasing other people, but he could not be teased back. Okay. Yeah. But like in my experience, if you tease, you've given the green light that you are now a target, and you may or may not be hit, but now you're allowed to be a target because like, especially with me traveling a lot, meeting new people, I had to like kind of holster the gun a little bit because some people, it's a group act, like antagonizer, and some people aren't used to it. And I realized that. But like he did that shit and I fucking like blah, 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 just because like he was kind of annoying me and it's so easy. He's an easy target. Right. But he got all butthurt about it, So I feel like I try to not weaponize it, right? But if someone would do that, then I might potentially weaponize it.
Yeah. Like if somebody was like, you're out on a group, a friend hangout, and they just kind of grab an ass and just like over and over again. And you're like, hey, buddy, you gave me the green light. I guess we're playing now. And then you play with them and then they get butthurt. And there's really and in front of your group of friends, it's like, we're dealing with some philosophically weak person.
Yeah, they at least knew it wasn't vanilla philosophically. They knew like I have a lot of depth, right? Depth.
A lot of depth over here playing boy.
Yeah.
They have no idea the depths I've been, bro.
Yeah, you turn the light green.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. 295, I think, is the longest one. I can go ahead and read that if there's no voters or voluntary.
Yeah, Jay, you should fucking read this one real talk. I mean, we can do pop ass on it, but yeah, you should read this one really lock in. Really take your time,
Yeah. All right. Marini. Aphorism 295. The genius of the heart, as that great mysterious one possesses it, the tempter god and born rat catcher of consciences, whose voice can descend into the netherworld of every soul, who neither speaks a word nor casts a glance in which there may not be some motive or touch of allurement, to whose perfection it pertains that he knows how to appear, not as he is, but in a guise which acts as an additional constraint on his followers to press ever closer to him, to follow him more cordially and thoroughly. The genius of the heart, which imposes silence and attention on everything loud and self-conceited, which smooths rough souls and makes them taste a new longing, to lie placid as a mirror, that the deep heavens may be reflected in them. The genius of the heart, which teaches the clumsy and too hasty hand to hesitate, and to grasp more delicately, which scents the hidden and forgotten treasure, the drop of goodness and sweet spirituality under thick, dark ice, and is a divining rod for every grain of gold, long buried and imprisoned in mud and sand. The genius of the heart, from contact with which every one goes away richer, not favored or surprised, not as though gratified and oppressed by the good things of others, but richer in himself, newer than before, broken up, blown upon, and sounded by a thawing wind. More uncertain, perhaps, more delicate, more fragile, more bruised, but full of hopes, which, as yet lack names, full of a new will and current, full of a new ill will and countercurrent. But what am I doing, my friends? Of whom am I talking to you? Have I forgotten myself so far that I have not even told you his name? Unless it be that you have already divined of your own accord who this questionable God and Spirit is, that wishes to be praised in such a manner? For, as it happens to everyone who is from childhood onwards, has always been on his legs and in foreign lands, I have also encountered on my path many strange and dangerous spirits. Above all, however, and again, the one of whom I have just spoken, in fact, no less a personage than the god Dionysus, the great equivocator and tempter, to whom, as you know, I once offered in all secrecy and reverence my first fruits. Asked, as it seems to me, who has offered a sacrifice to him, for I have found no one who can understand what I was then doing. In the meantime, however, I have learned much, far too much, about the philosophy of this god. And, as I said, from mouth to mouth, I, the last disciple and initiate of the god Dionysus, and perhaps I might at last begin to give you, my friends, as far as I am allowed, a little taste of this philosophy, in a hushed voice, as is but seemly, for it has to do with much that is secret, new, strange, wonderful, and uncanny. The very fact that Dionysus is a philosopher, and that therefore gods also philosophize, seems to me a novelty, which is not unensnaring. It might perhaps arouse suspicion precisely among philosophers, among you, my friends, there is less to be said against it, except that it comes too late and not at the right time. For, as it has been disclosed to me, you are loth nowadays to believe in God and gods. It may happen, too, that in the frankness of my story, I must go further than is agreeable to the strict usages of your ears. Certainly, the God in question went further, very much further, in such dialogues, and was always many paces ahead of me. Indeed, if it were allowed, I should have to give him, according to human usage, fine ceremonious tides of luster and merit. I should have to extol his courage as investigator and discoverer, his fearless honesty, truthfulness, and love of wisdom. But such a God does not know what to do with all that respectable trumpery and pomp. Keep that, he would say, for thyself and those like thee, and whoever else requires it. I have no reason to cover my nakedness. One suspects that this kind of divinity and philosopher perhaps lacks shame. He once said, under certain circumstances, I love mankind, and referred thereby to Ariadne, who was present. In my opinion, man is an agreeable, brave, inventive animal that has not his equal upon earth. He makes his way even through all labyrinths. I like man, and often think how can I still further advance him and make him stronger, more evil, and more profound. Stronger, more evil, and more profound? I asked in horror. Yes, he said again, stronger, more evil, and more profound, also more beautiful. And thereby the tempter god smiled with his halcyon smile, as though he had just paid some charming compliment. One here sees at once that it is not only shame that this divinity lacks, and in general there are good grounds for supposing that in some things the gods could all of them come to us men for instruction. We men are more human. Right.
All right.
Big one.
Who's that?
Okay. Sorry, what?
I was just gonna ask who's Dionysus.
Let's see.
The Greek god of wine.
Oh, is it drunk?
Let's see. Yep.
Wine.
Ritual madness, religious ecstasy. Okay, so he's a drunk dude.
Whoa, that's crazy.
He's like the god of pleasure, festivity, madness, and partying hard. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nietzsche's calling this guy the highest philosopher. Philosopher God.
That's pretty crazy.
Philosopher god. Is it because... Oh, go ahead.
I feel like a lot of it for me is like wrapped up in this part where he kind of Dionysus gives his like flowers to humans, and he's like, I think they're quite agreeable, blah blah blah. But he goes, if it was up to me, like they can be advanced still, I'd make them stronger and more evil and more profound. And he's like, stronger, more evil, more profound. I asked in horror, and he goes, yes, again. He goes, and then he goes, and also more beautiful. Like that right there. And he goes, so gods, all of them come to us men for instruction. We men are more human. I feel like from like the perspective of the gods, or this is what he's talking about, is that like humans' ability to know right from wrong and still choose to be evil is something that the gods find like so interesting. It's like ecstasy to them, like because they're like the masters of philosophy. They know like the alpha and the omega, but like the one thing that they can't organize is that like humans' inconsistency with our emotions, with our morals, with our loyalties. Our inconsistency is what is so fascinating, and like this god has highlighted that And he would love to even push it to the extreme, to have people be even more beautiful, more tempting, more evil, more cunning, because that to him is like such like no other animal. Well, we see that, I guess, in some animals in like herd settings and like group settings, but like humans have like taken that to like the extreme, you know? That's what I get from that. And that's what Nietzsche is highlighting in his like being like this, like I'm the last disciple, true disciple of this guy, because like I see like the interesting part of humans that he saw, which is like not just the good, but also the evilness within them is very interesting to me.
Right. Yeah, he's describing a God that loves humanity, not by comforting it, by intensifying it.
More passion, more betrayal, more drama. Like gods love drama, right? And like the humans are like, okay, for example, I've been sucked into watching the show in Yellowstone about these wolf packs, okay? And like these wolf packs, I mean, it's like a drama. Like there's like shit goes on every day. Fucking the hierarchy and stuff. I'm invested in wolf drama, okay? Like who's the alpha, who did this and that. And like these got these made up characters who look at us like how I'm looking at the wolf pack. Like the drama of like the rise of a great man, the betrayal of a lover or a best friend, right? The exile and redemption, right? These are all things that are like innately human, and he's like, we cannot forget about that also.
Right. Yeah. I mean, beautiful description. I have nothing else to add. That was really good, John.
Weaponized autism, baby.
Hell yeah. And Yellowstone. Great show.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like it's on Nat Geo. It's like talking about fucking wolves, baby. Like it's just wolves, bro. Yeah, dude. I'm bad. Like, do I buy the wolf shirt, bro? Do I lead into it? It's like stay away. Like this is my pack, and just fucking me and my kids.
Hell yeah.
I don't got kids.
The meme inside of me are two wolves.
Yeah.
One of them wants to get high. The other one wants to zen. I feed both of them. That's my problem.
Oh yeah. All right. Aphorism 296, the final aphorism of
Plug. Oh my goodness, we're still going.
We're here. All right. Want me to hit this one too?
Can I read this one? This one, I love this one.
All right.
Let me do it, boys. The very summer. It makes me feel like the summer.
Yep.
Shane Nietzsche's voice in this one.
296. Alas, what are you, after all, my written and painted thoughts? Not long ago, you were so variegated, young and malicious, so full of thorns and secret spies, that you made me sneeze and laugh. And now, you have already doffed your novelty, and some of you, I fear, are ready to become truths. So immortal do they look, so pathetically honest, so tedious. And was it ever otherwise? What then do we write and paint? We mandarins with Chinese brush. We immortalizers of things which lend themselves to writing. What are we alone capable of painting? Alas, only that which is just about to fade and begins to lose its odor. Alas, only exhausted and departing storms and belated yellow sentiments. Alas, only birds strayed and fatigued by flight, which now let themselves be captured with our hand. We immortalize what cannot live and fly much longer, things only which are exhausted and mellow, and it is only for your afternoon, you, my written and painted thoughts, for which alone I have colors, many colors, perhaps many, how do you say that word, Jay?
Variegated.
Many variegated softenings, and 50 yellows and browns and greens and reds. But nobody will divine thereby how ye looked in your morning, you sudden sparks and marvels of my solitude, you, my old beloved evil thoughts. Okay. Can I take a stab at this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So in my personal, I feel like this is him talking about when you're young and how you're old, you mellow out. And like how when you're young, you have these radical revolutionary thoughts. People who are responsible for revolutions are like young men who are battling for their ideals. Okay. And like sometimes they come from like the most deepest parts of us. Okay. Our most extreme parts. And that's what he's talking about colors. But as you get old, as you hold on to these thoughts, as you like, by the time he's written them all down, they become shades of yellow, which is like kind of like in the middle. It's almost inviting. It's warm. It's kind of like rounded. Okay. It's like a sunset. It's actually on its close. It's browns. It's cools. It's common. It's grounding. Okay. But he misses the days when his brush would stroke things of like passionate red and like uncontrollable blue. But like now he's feeling that like, just like the sun, his thoughts too have settled. That's what I get when I read that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And also when all things merges together, it becomes lots of browns. Same thing with yellow, and that could be another for his thinking too. But that's what I got.
I think you nailed that pretty well, John. It's crazy that he's like kind of giving his thoughts like it's just one big gigantic painting that looks beautiful back then. Like the colors were bright, primaries, like they had like weight to it, composed well. But then as he's gotten older, he looks back and it's just like one giant landscape of
Braille. Oh yeah, just fucking all
Yeah.
this together.
and I think it was when he finishes on, but nobody will divine thereby how you looked in your morning. He sends sparks and marvels of my solitude, my old beloved evil thoughts. I thought that was interesting that he clarified that they were evil, but it's italicized too. So he's probably being sarcastic then too. These are considered evil thoughts, but you just read everything.
I feel like the evil thoughts are like the taboo places that you're not allowed to go. He went and he was allowed to paint there with the colors that are those thoughts, right? It's like, let's say like a taboo thought was like a color or whatever. And he's like, and like you looked in your morning, your sun sparks and marvels of your solitude. Like, I mean, one of the times that we go camping or whatever, and we wake up and like the sunrise is hitting and like you have that moment and like, it's just you, there's no cell service. And you're like, you like, for whatever reason, you're like, I got this shit figured out, maybe, or whatever. We all had like, fucking, like life's good or whatever. You have you have this big thought, right? You know, that shit goes away too, though. You know, you're like, no one ever is talking to you when you have that, like fucking right then and there. You know, they're talking to you way after the fact. When you're no longer in solitude, you know, it's like trying to tell someone like about a story. You're like, they weren't there.
I think the end of these chapters, he's really reflecting on himself. Because I don't know, I'm like looking at all like the past 10 aphorisms. It seems like he's like summarizing a lot of how he ended up in this state of mind. And it seems like he's like pointing at something. Maybe I don't know. I could be wrong, but it seems like there is something that is connecting this theme of like at least towards the end of these last 10 aphorisms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this number 296, it feels like an ellipses to me. It's like the way to end the book. He ended it with ... is the feeling I'm getting. Because what he's saying here is like he's talking about his own thoughts, right? Imagine you're sitting there, you're writing this book, and this is the last one. You know, it's the last one.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, not so long ago were my thoughts variegated, young, and malicious, like these beautiful colors you're talking about. They were so full of thorns and secret spices that it made me sneeze and laugh. And now that they're written, you have doffed your novelty, and I fear there you are ready to become truth so immortal. Do they look so pathetically honest and tedious? And he gets in here and he goes, they're once they're written, right? He says right here. Alas, only that which is just about to fade and begins to lose its odor. only exhausted and departing storms and belated yellow sentiments. So it's like these ideas that he's been formulating and putting down and writing. He's like, now that I've finished writing them, they're starting to lose their odor. They're a departing storm. So like now they're old to me. They're becoming like they're brown, right? Everything's brown at this point. But the other ideas that he has, right? He goes, nobody will divine thereby how you looked in the morning. The beginning of the idea when I'm writing this. They were sudden sparks and marvels, and now they're old, beloved thoughts. And that's kind of how he sends off the book.
Dude, that's like pretty beautiful to end like that, if I'm being honest. Like, I just was asking ChatGPT if Nietzsche was a painter, and he said no, he wasn't, but he thought like one, kind of like what we're describing. And then at the end, it goes, the genius of the heart is the one who can sense the shades within the painting, not demand clarity or certainty or moral closure. I think that's like pretty, that hit with me, because it's, maybe those things that we don't agree with Nietzsche, but we can sense those colors and kind of like see it,
right,
through his literal thoughts. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, hell of a way to send off the book, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right.
All right, wrap us up, Jay.
Yeah, I got some questions real quick. Some end of the book questions. I want to ask, what did you learn by reading this book?
Not to choose a Nietzsche book for all year.
One on, one off.
One thing I learned, maybe it's two big main things, is, I think I started with this book wrong, Beyond Good and Evil, as deciding what's good and evil and having a moral like hammer to just like start deciding what's good and evil. But really, I think I took from this book that you can gain understanding by observance, and we kind of talked about how this book is written from Nietzsche just saying like, oh yeah, perhaps, but this is like what I see, and this is a thought. Like he's not even making a certain statement or like what is good or what is evil. He's just kind of like putting it out there for you.
But then also, okay, sorry.
No, that's just one thing. And then two, is sensing those shades, right? Being able to discern or feel those like different thoughts on where maybe good and evil lies is a tool to have to be able to not be manipulated by something that you think is evil or that you think is good.
Yeah. I like that idea. You said, you're talking to the AI and it said, no, he wasn't a painter, but he thought like one.
Yeah.
And that imagery for this book is perfect. Like Nietzsche's walking us through a series, like a series of paintings or one big painting that he's kind of taking us across, right? All of morality, all of philosophy. And he's just showing it to you. And to you, it might be red. It might be anger inducing, right? Or to you, it might be like blue, something that is like comedic, right? He's just kind of showing you different snapshots from his point of view, and it's up to you to determine the meaning of the painting.
Yeah, so it's like art. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are two really good ones, David. I like that a lot. Thank you. How about you, John? What'd you learn from this book?
I mean, I learned maybe more about how this guy thought. I might have, yeah, I would say that's what I learned, like more about how this guy thought,
Those type of people.
Well, no, that's hard to be like, what does that mean with that? Like those types of people, which I feel like my dad would say, like, this guy's a commie. Jordan Peterson would say, like, this guy is like a philosopher. So I don't know, he gave me some good frameworks that resonated and affirmed maybe some biases I already had. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. You know? And yeah, he reaffirmed that, like, for me, I think one of the things is like in life, there's nuance. In life, there is, like, he reaffirmed that, like, the highest form of philosophy is laughter. I love that. One of the highest forms of philosophy is enthusiasm, which I love that. And then we tied that back into, like, the Lord literally tells us that in the Bible that, like, we should try to live life enthusiastic. So these are all like affirmations for me of, like, yeah, I agree with those things. But he said a lot of stuff I disagree with too. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I like David when you were saying you know the title Beyond Good and Evil. You figure it was a book where we're gonna walk around with a moral hammer and just start smashing nails, right? But it wasn't that at all. You know, it was the idea was more. If you think there's a good and evil, let's take a good look at that and understand the nuance, like John said. Like the book should, if it had a different title, the name of this book would be Nuance. Right.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so it was an interesting book.
It's a good reflection for I think my faith too as a Christian, and being like, just so you know, Christianity, this is like, you know, it's put it in your face, and he's like, look, observe. You know?
Right.
You know, I think that was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What about you, Deb?
Probably say like it showed me that observation, being observant gives you more benefit than it does harm, because it allows you to like be able to like retrospectively and actively, like in real time, like look at what you believe in and think, like, not just like question your beliefs, but it allows you to kind of walk through the reasoning, how you got there. And a lot of things aren't so logical, but it's just giving you the awareness to recognize that, like, you ended up there somehow, some way. And I think when we first opened the book, like, I honestly thought it was gonna be that black and white was like good and evil. But it really isn't. And I think him peeking back the curtain of like what evil really means is like everybody has a sense of it in them. And I think what he does expose too, like the people that kind of traverse in like, I have no evil in me at all, like, are probably closer to evil than you might think. So it's I think the awareness and the observation state of frame that he operates from is very it's nuanced. It's where you won't, a lot of people don't look in between the lines, and especially how Nietzsche is looking in between like the lines of the line. Yeah, I would say the least, it's like very rare. So I would say it probably taught me to be just a little bit more observant and carry more awareness to having different conversations that I'm not used to.
Nice. Hell yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. If you who would you recommend this book to?
No one.
No, dude, because you're not gonna finish it unless you have it's like a book club mandated every week.
You literally need like a fucking support hotline to be like, I want to give up. They're like, don't. Like, we have someone you care about like hostage. If you don't finish the book, like, they die. Like,
And also like maybe flatulation.
you have to seek this book out. I feel like.
Right. Only person I'd recommend this to is like fucking JVP.
My church in Fresno has referenced Nietzsche, like a couple of services that I went to, and that was pretty cool. So I think it was good though. It gave some kind of like mirror to look into as a Christian that is maybe that judgmental Christian that's hammering like good and evil out carelessly, right? And doesn't take the time to observe where these beliefs start from and how they correspond to I don't know, like your behavior.
Well, see that's one thing like you were talking about earlier, Dave, is that like you were talking about how you learned from this book about like how observing how there's like maybe not necessarily like good or evil. And like I feel like that's the thing, like he contradicts himself the whole time. Because by the end of it, he talks about like this is what a strong man is, blah blah blah. And like the highest form of philosopher is this and blah blah blah. So he shifts like then all of a sudden he's down an opinion. And like my takeaway was that like yeah, I think it's good to have nuance with your ideas and your thoughts, but eventually, and even he says it, you have to draw a line somewhere, and then to guard that spot, and to never like it is okay to redraw the line once new information is presented, and then like you were wrong previously. That's okay, right? But like you shouldn't be like you shouldn't make a line in the sand, you know? It should be like a fucking line in the concrete, you know, type of shit. Where like you really, you know, you really got to fucking do your homework before the line gets moved again. Because like everyone else is going to try to change your mind through sympathy and manipulation and like the evilness of humans and all that stuff that you talked about and diagnosis, you know, he's talked about like that's the shit that they'll do to you.
I think, and this is my thing too after reading the book, because throughout the whole course of the episodes, viewers, if anybody or those who have been watching through this whole series, I think when it comes to that conversation when we were like talking about is there truth or not, is there subjective truth or is there an objective truth about things, I still think there is clearly good and evil, and it is defined, right? Like there's things inside of us, or there's a spark in us that allows us to know what is evil. We would look at something and be like, yeah, like murder is wrong or something like that, right? So that's something I want to like preface too, but also the observance is one thing, but then also, yeah, like knowing where your lines are, and that's the other component to all this. Like it's good to maybe know where the nuance is, but you're still drawing conclusion at the end of the day for what is truth, and that's how we actually get towards truth. It's like that exploration.
Right. The word is conviction. Conviction is required. Right. So the conversation of is there objective right and wrong, right? What you determine as right and wrong is subjective. But once you've identified it as right and wrong, it now becomes objective to you. And then that's when conviction is required.
That what you just said right there, combined with the observance and becoming aware to everything, it's almost like, okay, we read Nietzsche's painting, right? We walked through it, but now we have more colors to make our own painting and to kind of make and be able to show other people what that looks like.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you may not have learned, let's say you didn't learn anything from this book. You still were, you've been given something that you didn't have previously, you know?
Yeah. And maybe it's not painting, like, you know, it's something internal that you know what it is. I think he just decided to be like, I'm going to go through everything and give you, right? I want to take you on this journey that goes on deep in the depths of my soul and my mind.
Yeah.
And maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't, perhaps.
And he did it all in 194 pages.
That would be another title for this book. Perhaps.
In italics.
Yeah, he's like, oh, maybe.
Oh, man. All right, before we head out, did you guys have a favorite aphorism that you can remember? Like, or an idea?
Go for it, John.
Let's hear it.
I mean, I already said it. So, I mean, like the enthusiasm one and the laughter one. I mean, those are no brains for me. I feel like I was like, exactly. I've been saying this shit for a long time. No one ever wants to believe this retard, but maybe they'll believe it. If some smart guy said it fucking 100 years ago, maybe they'll believe it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I like the willing to be the laughter part, right? So like you determine what's right, subjective, then you determine it becomes objective to you. Then you have conviction, when you're proven wrong, as we all are, to be able to laugh it off creates a better outcome than denying the truth.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So that's a huge idea. Like, let's say freaking you have some idea that's maybe not religious in a sense, but it gets proven wrong. And to laugh it off and move forward with correct information will create a better outcome than be like, no, that's incorrect. So be willing to analyze, analyze things that you believe in.
Analyze things you believe in. That's pretty good.
Hell yeah. All right. Anything else to add before I take us out?
Fucking take us out of here.
Yeah. Well, that was Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. Great book, but I'm super happy to be done with it. So 13 months later, we are now going to be finishing this book up. So next time you see us, we're going to be starting, so a little sneak peek, the Iliad and Odyssey by Homer. So we'll talk more about it when it comes up. But for those of you guys that are here, you'll know which one's our next book is. So comment down below. So before you take off, like the video, drop a comment down below. What was your favorite aphorism? Did you like this whole series of Beyond Good and Evil? We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you're updated every time we put up a new video. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. Follow us on all our social media platforms. All the information you'll need is down in the description box below. And remember, who you are now equals who you'll be tomorrow. Peace.